I never thought I'd have to say this out loud, but a couple months ago, I was almost arrested for trespassing on my own family's lake cabin. Yeah, my own land, my own porch, my own boxes, and flashing red and blue lights painting the trees like it was a crime scene from some TV drama. All because I was unloading my son's belongings, he had just deployed overseas, and the HOA president decided that was her moment to strike. Now, I've always been the kind of guy who keeps his head down, pays his taxes, trims his hedges, waves at the mailman. I work in logistics, warehouse inventories, shipping routes, that sort of thing. Nothing glamorous, but it pays the bills, keeps the fridge full, and gave me the means to raise a good boy named Mason alongside my wife, Beth. Mason had left just 3 days before. We drove him to base while the sky was still dark. The ride was quiet, the kind of quiet that's thick with everything you want to say but just can't. When he hugged me and said, "Keep Mom safe, Dad. Don't worry about my stuff," I nodded, but I did worry about his stuff. That stuff was him. His old guitar, high school trophies, dusty record collection. It wasn't junk to me, it was memory. So I loaded it all up and drove it out to the cabin, our family place built by my grandfather back in 1963, thinking I'd tuck it away safe until he came back home. I should have known better. See, our lake cabin sits on the edge of Willow Ridge, a quiet area that's not part of the new sprawling Cypress Gate estates, and I made sure of that. We've never paid dues, never agreed to their bylaws, but that didn't stop their new HOA president, a woman named Denise Holloway, from trying to rope our land into her little kingdom. Denise was a legend around here. Always in white linen, driving a spotless hybrid SUV, clipboard in hand like it was a royal decree. She didn't walk, she patrolled. The kind of person who'd fine you for leaving your Christmas lights up a day too long, or letting your recycling bin be seen from the street. She lived and breathed order. Her order. So when I pulled up to the cabin with Mason's boxes and started unloading, I guess she'd been watching. Grant, my neighbor across the gravel road, had warned me. "Careful," he said, sipping his root beer. "Queen D's been buzzing around with those binoculars of hers, looking for the next rebel to squash." I laughed it off. "She's got no power here, Grant. Cabin's on private land, always has been." Grant just gave me that look old mailmen give you when they've seen things. The kind of look that says, "I hope you're right." About an hour later, I was setting Mason's guitar on its stand, a dusty old Springsteen record spinning on the player, when I noticed it. The music drowned out the crunch of tires, but I saw the lights first. Red and blue, 2 police cruisers crawling up the gravel path like sharks, and behind them, standing like she'd summoned a battalion, Denise, with that smug smirk and a clipboard clutched like it was a royal decree. I walked out onto the porch slowly, hands up just enough to show I wasn't a threat. Officer number 1, older guy with a heavy mustache and eyes that looked like they'd seen too many petty calls, stepped forward. "Sir, we got a call about a break-in and possible theft." I blinked. "A break-in? Officer, this is my family's property. I'm just storing my son's stuff here while he's deployed." Denise chimed in before I could finish, her voice syrupy and sharp. "This property has been abandoned for years. It falls under Cypress Gate Estates' protected jurisdiction. This man has no right to be here. I've got maps, officer. He's been warned before." Which, of course, was a lie. I'd never gotten a word from her, not a letter, not a warning, not a single "by your leave." But it didn't matter in that moment. She sounded official. She looked the part. Meanwhile, I was just some guy in jeans standing in front of an old cabin with boxes spilling out of a pickup truck. It was humiliating. I explained the history. I told Officer Miller, that was the older one, that the cabin had been in our family for 3 generations, that we were never part of the HOA, that my wallet and driver's license was inside. He gave a nod, then sent his younger partner in with me to retrieve it. I could feel their eyes on me as I walked back out, license in hand. Miller ran it through the system, then came back. "All right, you are who you say you are, Mr. Jensen." Denise didn't miss a beat. That doesn't change the fact that this property is within our jurisdiction. I have the map right here. She handed over a laminated sheet with a bold red boundary drawn clear around my cabin like a child's crayon fantasy. Miller stared at it, then went back to his cruiser. I saw him pull up the official county records on his tablet. He zoomed in, frowned, zoomed out, then back in again. After what felt like an eternity, he walked back over and held up the screen. "Ma'am," he said, his tone sharp now, "your map doesn't match the official county plat. According to the records, the boundary for Cypress Gate ends 50 feet before this property. This cabin is not, and has never been, under your HOA." Denise went pale, then red. She sputtered something about amendments and updated surveys, but Miller wasn't having it. "You filed a false police report. That's a serious offense." She stormed off, cheeks burning, wheels spinning in a cloud of dust. I thought it was over. That maybe, just maybe, she'd back off after being publicly embarrassed by law enforcement. 2 days later, I found a letter tucked under my windshield, embossed with that same HOA seal. 2 fines, one for $500 for unauthorized storage affecting community aesthetics, and another $100 for trespassing on shared access land, which I could only assume was the strip of grass next to the road. Grant showed up again, bottle in hand, shirt reading, "I weld, therefore I am." "She's not done," he said. "She never admits she's wrong. When she gets caught, she finds another angle." That's when he told me about the Millers. They were an elderly couple who'd lived near the community's edge for decades. Their home, like mine, was never part of the HOA, but Denise decided it ruined the visual harmony. So she faked an annexation, redrew the boundary lines, had her husband Bob, a notary, stamp the documents, then came the fines, the threats, the legal letters. The Millers couldn't take it. They sold and moved in with their daughter, heartbroken, defeated. That lit something in me. This wasn't about one fine. It wasn't even about my son's boxes. It was about power. It was about someone who preyed on the weak, who weaponized bureaucracy against those who couldn't fight back. And I wasn't going to let her do it again. With Beth's full support and her quiet fury, I spent the next week at the county clerk's office, digging. And sure enough, I found everything. The fake annexation, the doctored maps, Bob Holloway's notary seal slapped on documents that never passed through the proper channels. But that wasn't all. Buried in an old HOA ledger, one that Mr. Miller apparently had kept all these years in a dusty box, was a section labeled Community Enforcement Fund. It was a slush fund, fueled by resident fines, paying out to exactly 2 approved vendors, a landscaping company and a roofing business. I checked the names: Evergreen Grounds, Skytop Roofing. Both had a record of writing regular checks back to a consulting fee account, registered to, you guessed it, Karen Denise Holloway. It was a kickback scheme. She fined residents, then funneled work to her partners and got a piece of the pie, all dressed up like community improvement. That's when I decided it was time to go public. I didn't sue. I didn't call the press. I threw a barbecue. We called it a lakeside get-together, posted flyers around town. Grant brought his gnome, Salty, for moral support. Beth made gallons of sweet tea. Folks came, hesitant at first, then in waves. And when Denise showed up, arms crossed, clipboard out, fire in her eyes, I stepped forward. "This is private property," I said. "You're not on the guest list." That hush that followed, it was like the wind died. Then slowly, one by one, neighbors began to speak. She fined me $200 for a bird bath. She made me repaint my door 4 times, said none of the shades were HOA-approved beige. She made my wife